this is Jen from Windrose Fiber Studio. Today, let's crochet the Reflections handbag. For this project, I'm using Rios by Malabrigo. I'm using the colors Magenta, Lettuce, and Frank Ochre. I also have a 5mm crochet hook, scissors, a yarn needle, a handful of stitch markers, and a ruler. I'll be using additional materials for the lining of the bag, and I'll have all of this listed in the description below. We will jump right into our project by working on the body of the handbag. We'll be making two of the following, so we'll have two sides, a front and back of our handbag. To begin, you'll chain 44. To create our side panels, we're going to be using a crochet stitch called the Hexagon stitch. I have a complete tutorial for this stitch, which is a little bit more involved, and I will link that in the description below. When I first saw the fabric that this stitch creates, it immediately reminded me of Shisha embroidery. I was very happy to learn the name of this embroidery that I've admired for years and years without knowing what it was called. A viewer just enlightened me, so I'm so grateful for that. Shisha actually means glass, and I'm sure you've seen the beautiful fabrics that have embroidered into them little round mirrors. Our purse today will pay homage to Shisha embroidery with its open weave and a reflective metallic lining. Okay, here we go with row 1. You're going to work a single crochet in the 4th stitch from your hook and in each of the next 3 stitches. After this, you'll skip 3 stitches and then work 3 double crochets all in the next stitch. Now you're going to skip the next 2 chains and work a single crochet in the next stitch. Then you'll skip 2 more, and into this next stitch you're going to work a combination of stitches. You'll work 3 double crochets, and then we're going to make an extended picot. You'll do this by chaining 7. Make sure that the first 4 of these 7 chains are a little bit on the loose side. After that, you'll single crochet in the 4th chain from your hook and in each of the next 3 chains. Now you're going to work 3 more double crochets in that exact same stitch. So into one stitch you're working 3 double crochets, a picot, and 3 more double crochets. After this, you'll skip 2 stitches, and then you'll single crochet in the next stitch. You'll be repeating the notes between the asterisks all the way across, with your last single crochet being worked into the last stitch of your beginning chain. Let me show you this repeating pattern one more time. You skip 2 stitches, and then you work 3 double crochets in the next stitch. From here, you'll chain 7. You can see how I'm making these first 4 chains nice and loose. You'll be working into both sides of this short row in subsequent rows. Once you have done your chain 7, you'll single crochet in the 4th stitch from your hook and in each of the next 3 stitches. Then working back into that same stitch, you'll place 3 more double crochets. Then you'll skip 2 stitches, work a single crochet in the next stitch, and then you'll start all over again, working your way across the row. I've just placed my last single crochet, and now you can see row 1. It has quite a bit of stretch to it, so I'm not at all concerned about reaching my desired 9 inches once the fabric is blocked. For row 2, you'll chain 3 and turn. That chain 3 counts as the first double crochet of the row. And now we're going to work a cluster over the next 8 stitches. To work a cluster, you'll yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. For this cluster, we're working into the last single crochet of row 1, and then across the 3 double crochets, and then in the 4 stitches going up the side of the first picot. You'll stop just short of that chain 3 at the top of the picot. You should have 17 loops in all on your hook. Then yarn over and pull your hook through. You don't have to pull it through all the loops at once. You can do a few at a time. Once you're done, go ahead and loosen the tension a little bit. This is basically part of a first ring, and you don't want the stitches to overlap or be too tight. Chain 1 to close your cluster, and we're ready to move on. Next, you'll chain 3, and then you'll work 1 single crochet in the top of the picot, chain 3 once again, and now you're going to work a cluster over the next 15 stitches. Let's have a look at what these stitches are. So the first 4 are working down the other side of the picot, 1, 2, 3, 4, then across the 3 double crochet, the single crochet, the 3 double crochet, and then the last 4 stitches of the next picot. This is a lot of loops to have on your hook all at once, but I promise there's enough space. So here we go. You yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. Keep your tension nice and loose. You'll always be on the 8th yarn over when you reach the single crochet, and then you have 3 more double crochets and the last 4 stitches going up the side of the next picot. Now you have a total of 31 loops on your hook. Yarn over. You can see that I'm really turning my hook to the left so that it doesn't grab onto any of these loops as I gently pull this yarn over through. It'll get tighter as you work your way through, so it's so important to give that working yarn a little tug and loosen up these stitches. This is really where you're going to be deciding the size of the rings in your fabric. You want to be as consistent as you possibly can with your tension as you're working these clusters. Chain 1 to close your cluster, and then chain 3. Now we'll work a single crochet into the top of the next picot. And now I can start from the asterisk all over again. I'll chain 3. I'm going to work 1 more cluster before I leave you on your own to finish row 2. I wish that the base of this purse was a brighter color, one that would be easier to see. I would highly encourage anyone who's struggling to go into the description below and have a look at the tutorial for the hexagon stitch. If you've never done a stitch like this one, it can definitely be a little bit more of a challenge. If we have a look at our rows so far, we can see the rings coming in. We've got another cluster, chain 3, single crochet, chain 3, another cluster, chain 3, single crochet, chain 3, a final cluster, chain 3, and a single crochet in the top of that last picot. You can see by the shape of the fabric why this is called the hexagon stitch. Here we are at the end of row 2 and we're ready to move on. For row 3, you'll chain 1 and turn. If you're watching closely, you'll see that I actually forgot to work the very first stitch in this row, because the first thing you do is you single crochet in the first stitch, and then we start our pattern for this row. You skip that chain 3, then you work 3 double crochets, a picot, and 3 double crochets into the ring. Remember, our picot is a chain 7. Work a single crochet into the 4th stitch from your hook and in each of the next 3 stitches. And then we finish off our stitch combination with 3 more double crochets into the ring. After this, you'll skip the next chain 3 and you'll work a single crochet in that single crochet stitch. Then you're going to skip the next chain 3, and into that ring you're going to work 3 double crochets, a picot, and 3 more double crochets. My hope is that this is getting a little bit more comfortable, this stitch combination. Now that you've worked the clusters into the picots, you can see why it's really nice to have those chains be a little bit on the loose side. Here we are working our last 3 double crochets into this ring. Then you're going to skip the next chain 3, single crochet into the next stitch, and you're going to repeat this all the way across. In the very last ring, you're going to be working 4 double crochets. So I've worked the whole row except for the very end, so you can see this. I've just finished the stitch combination. I'm going to skip this chain 3, work a single crochet, skip the next chain 3, and then I'm going to work 4 double crochets into the last ring to complete row 3. Row 4 starts by chaining 6. This will count as our first double crochet and a chain 3. We're going to begin in the 4th chain from our hook, working our cluster over the next 15 stitches. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook into the 4th chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over into the 5th chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over into the 6th chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. And now we can carry on as we would a regular cluster, working across these 4 double crochets. And then there's the single crochet, and then you'll be working up the 4 stitches on the side of the first picot. And then from here on out, this row should feel very familiar. You're going to yarn over, pull through all 31 loops on your hook, adjust your ring, then do a single crochet to close your ring, and carry on with the stitch pattern. Now that I'm happy with my ring, I'll close it. I can pull on the working yarn to adjust it. And now I can start at the beginning of the stitch pattern. I'll chain 3, I'll work a single crochet in the top of the next picot, and then I'll chain 3 and I'll work a cluster over the next 15 stitches. We'll be doing this all the way across. The last cluster of this row will have only 8 stitches, so I'll be back to show you that last cluster in just a moment. I've just worked a single crochet into the last picot of this row, and then I've chained 3, and now it's time to work our last cluster. For row 4, we're clustering over just 8 stitches, so you'll yarn over, work across these 4 stitches on the other side of the picot, and then you'll work across the 3 double crochet and the final single crochet. Yarn over and pull through all 17 loops on your hook. When you're happy with your ring, chain 1 to close, and here we are at row 5. For row 5, we begin by chaining 10. This will form our first picot. Turn your work, and you'll begin this row by working a single crochet into the 4th stitch from your hook, and then into each of the next 3 stitches. Afterwards, you'll skip that chain 3 space and work 3 double crochets into the first ring. You'll skip the next chain 3, single crochet in the single crochet stitch right there. And now you're ready to carry on with the stitch pattern for this row. You'll continue this pattern across, ending with your last single crochet in the top of your turning chain. Let's have a look at our first 5 rows. Here we have row 1, and then row 2 is the bottom of the ring, row 3 is the top, and then we have row 4, the bottom of the next ring, and then row 5 forms the top. To continue on with this pattern, you'll be repeating rows 2 through 5 in that order. In the description below, I have included the written instructions for each of these rows, or you can find the rows in the timestamps. Since we just finished row 5, our next row will be row 2. Here's a look at a completed side panel. Here's our row 1, then 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, and then we're going to do something a little bit different for that last row. On even numbered rows, you'll be working clusters forming the bottom of the rings. On odd numbered rows, you'll be working the stitch combinations forming the top of the rings. Here's a chart for your convenience, so if you would like to pause the video here and make note of which rows you'll be working as you work through each color on the way up your side panel. remember you'll need to make 2. At the end of each color, you'll introduce your new color with the very last yarn over pull through 2. We have just completed following the stitch pattern for row 2, which is the last row of yellow before we make our scalloped edge. To make our scalloped top edge, you'll chain 3 and turn. In the first ring, you'll work 6 double crochets. And then you'll work a single crochet in the next single crochet, and then 6 double crochets in the next ring. You'll continue this pattern all the way across. Remember, you will be skipping a chain 3 space before and after those single crochets. I have sped up this row, but you can go into settings and slow down the playback speed so you can watch it in real time. Here's our last single crochet, and now into this last ring you'll work 4 double crochets. You'll always be able to find the top left side of your side panels because it's the side with the 4 double crochets. Now you can finish off weaving in all of your loose ends. Now there's nothing left to do but to repeat this process all over again so that your purse will have 2 sides, a front and a back. To block your completed panels, soak them in water for at least 20 minutes. I added a drop of soap to my water, but that is not necessary. After your panels have soaked, wring out as much water as possible. I actually wrap mine up in a towel and really squeeze out any excess water. I am using a couple of blocking mats so that I can pin down my shapes to perfect 9 by 12 inch rectangles. I will put a link in the description below if you're interested in something like these mats. I'm just using T-pins to hold them in place. Once I'm happy with my shape, I will leave it overnight to dry. When the sides of your handbag are perfectly dry, you can go ahead and remove those pins. And now you have everything you need to start assembling the Reflections handbag. Remember, you can tell the top left of your bag because it is the side of the top scallop that has just 4 double crochets and not 6. You can see that with both right sides facing me, I gathered the middle edges and lifted the panels so that the wrong sides are facing each other and the right side is facing us. I'm using some clips so that I can clip the bottom edge and just make sure that the 2 panels are aligned. Using the yarn color magenta and my 5mm crochet hook, I'm going to join these 2 panels together, being sure to work through both sides of the fabric, and I'm just going to work a row of single crochets evenly across, starting from one bottom corner and working my way to the opposite corner. This should take you 34 to 38 single crochets. When finished, the bottom of your bag should lie flat and the stitches should look nice and uniform. Now it's time to repeat this process for both sides. To sew together the sides, I'm going to turn the work so that the right sides are now facing each other and the wrong side is facing us. I'm going to grab my clips again, and I'm really going to take the time to make sure that these 2 panels are lined up where the color changes. So I really took time and care to make sure that these panels are perfectly aligned before I come in and I start sewing those single crochets evenly up the side. With my side seams complete, I've turned the work back so that it's right side out. You can see that the color changes line up on both the front and back of the bag. If we turn it inside out, these seams are now on the inside of the bag, and it took about 15 to 16 single crochets working through each color. With our bag right side out once again, it's time to make the handle. To do so, I'm going to make a 4-strand braid using 2 strands of the magenta because it's kind of our foundation color. I'm carrying 8 strands of each, and they're cut to double the length that I need for my particular shoulder strap. Follow along with the video to see how to work your braid. I made this braid a little on the loose side, really just for the sake of this tutorial, but for the sake of our handbag, I want one that's made under a little bit more tension so that it's a little tighter and stronger for our purse. I like to use a piece of cloth like this one, and then I'll attach it to a basket or the back of a chair, and then I'll pin the top knot of my braid to the fabric, and I can easily work on it from there. I had mine attached to a basket which was all the way across the room by the time I had this much cord made because I'm making my handbag a crossbody. Now it's time to sew the shoulder strap to the handbag. I am going to use my magenta yarn and a yarn needle to sew it on. I'm also going to have the yellow and green facing front, and I'm going to have the stripes of magenta facing the outside and next to the purse. I'll start by threading my yarn onto my yarn needle, and then you can see I'm working from the inside of the bag, starting at the bottom corner. And then I'm going through the entire cord, and I'm really just going to use the magenta yarn as my guide. I'm going to go through one side and out the other, and I'm really going to follow the pattern of the cord as I place my stitches. I'm just going to place one stitch for each wrap of the cord. When I get to the top, I'm going to add a couple extra stitches right here because this is a place where handbags kind of withstand a lot of stress. So I'm going to, just for safe measure, put a couple extra stitches right here at the top, and then I'm going to work my way back down. I really want my straps to be strong and for my bag to really last. When you get to the second strap, now it's really critical. It's time to decide how long you want your strap to be. You can see I've used my safety pin to pin the strap on, and then I've actually put it on my body and pulled on the strap itself because I know this is going to stretch out, especially when I have something like my phone in my purse weighing it down. I want to still be happy with the length when there's weight in the purse and when this strap has been used enough that it's starting to stretch out. So once I make that decision, then I'm ready to go ahead and sew the second side and tie that knot in place. And then the very last step is I'm going to trim my tassels to about 3 inches because I think that's going to be a cute length. Of course, you can leave yours longer or cut them shorter, whatever appeals to you. I want to start off by being very straight up with you. Sewing is not my main thing, but I'm going to kind of share my plan for this lining with you. I have decided, because this fabric I bought is a little bit chintzy, it's like metal on the outside and just a woven fabric on the inside. I've decided to double it just to make sure that the lining is strong. I'm making this purse for the very first time in front of you, and honestly, I don't think I would recommend this fabric. I'm going to see if I can find some better choices online and maybe give you a couple link options in the description below. I'm going to use magnet closures. I'm not worried about things falling out of this bag because it's kind of deep, but I do like something that holds the top of the bag closed. So I will just do a little hand sewing in a circle around these magnets once I know where the center point is. Otherwise, I'm going to sew this into a little bag that I can slide into my purse. Nothing fancy here, but it looks like we've got a pretty good fit. And now you can see my magnets are all sewn in, and there's just enough strength there to keep the bag closed. Although I'm not a huge fan of this fabric and I may look for something better for myself, I do love its reflective quality. I wanted this to look like little round mirrors sewn into the fabric, and it's really giving me that. I think an option could be to use this fabric and then line it with a nice cotton on the inside. So have it doubled up and have this be the outside layer and have a nicer fabric inside for the strength and for the feel of the fabric. You can see that I've used my clips to hold the lining in place, and now I'm just going to sew it to the handbag with a simple whip stitch. Here we are at the end of another project. If you're just getting to know my channel and you're kind of wondering what my style is, I feel like you're looking at it. This is everything I love wrapped up in a crossbody bag. For some reason, I could just really picture this one before I even crocheted the first chain. I'm so delighted that the finished project really matches that image that I had in my head. That's so exciting when everything sort of works out, isn't it? So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you'll give it a try if you like this style as much as I do. I post new videos every Tuesday. Please hit like and subscribe so I can keep these patterns coming your way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.